avrei visto te in esilio con la tua elemosina. No, Massimo. No.
The 365 Days film series has turned into quite a phenomenon over the years, sparking both a passionate fandom and endless discussions online. It started with a single movie that instantly drew attention worldwide and quickly grew into a trilogy that fans couldn't stop watching. Now there's a bunch of speculation swirling around about whether 365 Days 4 might be on the way, especially since audiences still can't get enough of Laura and Massimo's story. And honestly, with how successful the franchise has been, it feels like another chapter could easily happen. The story began with the first 365 Days movie based on Blanka Lipińska's best-selling Polish novel of the same name. The film hit Netflix in 2020, introducing us to Laura Biel, played by Anna Maria Sieklucka, and Massimo Torricelli, played by Michele Morrone. The chemistry between the two leads and the intense, exotic storyline immediately captured attention. It became one of those movies people couldn't stop talking about, whether they loved it or were completely shocked by it. Because of that buzz, Netflix saw massive viewership spikes. The film even climbed to the top spot on the platform for several days in a row. The movie's success was impossible to ignore, so naturally it paved the way for two more sequels, 365 Days This Day and The Next 365 Days. The first sequel dropped in April 2022, followed just a few months later by the third film in August of that same year. Both continued Laura and Massimo's complicated, passionate, and dangerous love story, keeping audiences hooked with more drama, lavish locations, and high-stakes romance. Even though the trilogy wrapped up a lot of threads, the ending of The Next 365 Days left a bunch of questions unanswered, which is probably why fans are hoping for one more movie to tie everything together. Now, officially speaking, 365 Days 4 hasn't been confirmed yet, but that doesn't mean it won't happen. It's true that Blanka Lipińska only wrote 3 books, and each of the current films adapts one of them. However, that hasn't stopped Netflix and other studios in the past from expanding successful franchises with original material. If the demand is strong enough, there's always a chance for a continuation, especially considering how the last movie ended on such an open note. It feels almost intentional, like the door was left slightly ajar for another chapter in Laura and Massimo's story. As far as casting goes, if 365 Days 4 does happen, there's a good chance most of the main actors would return. After all, the trilogy won't be the same without Anna Maria Sieklucka and Michele Morrone. Their dynamic as Laura and Massimo is the heart of the series. The previous films also introduced some new faces, like Simone Cecina as Nacho, Massimo's charming rival, and Magdalena Lamparska as Laura's best friend Olga. These characters helped flesh out the story, and it's easy to imagine them playing key roles again if a fourth movie comes to life. Fans would definitely want to see what happens next in the tangled love triangle between Laura, Massimo, and Nacho. When it comes to story possibilities, the future looks wide open. Interestingly, Blanka Lipińska herself has hinted at a great idea for how 365 Days 4 could unfold. She's mentioned that she'd love to tell the same story, but from Massimo's point of view. That twist could add an entirely new layer to the saga, letting audiences see the events of the trilogy through his eyes and better understand his motivations, struggles, and emotions. It could even work as a prequel or a reimagined version of the existing story, deepening what we already know while exploring unexplored parts of his character. It's a creative direction that could easily reignite interest in the franchise. The third film, The Next 365 Days, ended with Laura and Massimo having a heartfelt conversation on a beach, both admitting how much pain they've caused each other. Massimo tells her that he'll accept it if she chooses Nacho over him, but before she can respond, the movie cuts to black, leaving the ending completely open. It's a perfect setup for another installment. A fourth movie could pick up right there, showing Laura's decision or maybe even having her walk away from both men, forcing them to fight for her love in new ways. The emotional tension is definitely still there, and that cliffhanger practically begs for a continuation. While the trilogy has often been compared to 50 Shades of Grey, the 365 Days movies carved out their own distinct space in the genre. They're bold, unapologetically romantic, and visually stunning, filled with beautiful settings, extravagant fashion, and steamy chemistry. But what really keeps fans invested is the unpredictability. You never quite know where Laura and Massimo's relationship will go next. Because of that, a fourth movie wouldn't just be repeating old ground, it could expand the story in ways that give the characters more depth and closure. A lot of the buzz around the first movie came from its daring tone and its portrayal of passion mixed with power. It sparked plenty of debates online, but one thing's certain, it got people talking. It's hard for any movie to capture that level of global attention, and 365 Days did it effortlessly. Because of its popularity, Netflix had no reason not to keep the franchise going, and that same logic could easily apply to a fourth film. The numbers alone make a strong case, and although the earlier films stirred up controversy for their depiction of intense relationships, the sequel showed that the filmmakers were trying to evolve the characters and dig deeper into their emotional cores. 365 Days This Day explored what happens when passion meets real-world responsibility, showing Laura and Massimo navigating married life and trust issues. The next 365 days pushed the boundaries even further by challenging Laura's feelings and forcing her to make tough choices about what she truly wants. That emotional growth suggests that another film could take things even further, bringing the trilogy to an even more mature and thoughtful conclusion. Of course, much of the talk about the series has also focused on its sensuality, which is part of its identity. The cinematography, the music, and the intimacy all play key roles in creating that signature style fans love. Even the actors have spoken about how careful those scenes were crafted to look authentic while keeping everything professional on set. Cinematographer Bartek Solika once explained that the goal was to make the moments feel natural and full of emotion, but never cross into anything inappropriate. It's that balance of realism and artistry that made the movie stand out visually and tonally from others in the genre. When Netflix released 365 Days This Day, the story took an unexpected turn, showing Laura's growing attraction to Nacho, the mysterious gardener who turns out to be the son of Massimo's rival. That plot twist added new life to the series, setting up the tension that drives the next 365 days. The third film built on that love triangle, making the stakes feel higher than ever. Even though it ended on a cliffhanger, it left just enough mystery to make people curious about what happens next, the perfect recipe for a sequel. Given the fan demand and Netflix's track record of extending successful properties, it's entirely possible that 365 Days 4 could happen sooner than expected. Sometimes studios hold off on announcements until the right script or creative direction comes together, especially when the goal is to make something that feels fresh rather than repetitive. And if Blanka Lipińska decides to collaborate on a new story or write a fourth book, it would give Netflix even more reason to greenlight another movie. It's also worth noting how strong the fan community around 365 Days has become. Social media remains flooded with fan edits, theories, and discussions about Laura's final decision. Michele Morrone and Anna Maria Sieklucka's on-screen chemistry is constantly praised, and both actors have expressed openness to revisiting their roles. That enthusiasm from both fans and the stars is often exactly what pushes studios to move forward with another film. So while 365 Days 4 hasn't been officially announced yet, the potential is absolutely there. The story could easily continue in new and exciting ways, whether as a direct sequel, a prequel told from Massimo's perspective, or even a reimagined spin-off. The world of 365 Days still has plenty of room to grow, and the trilogy's ending certainly left audiences eager for more. With such strong fan support, a proven global audience, and the creators' interest in exploring the story further, it's not hard to imagine Netflix bringing the series back for another round. After all, it's rare for a movie series to spark this much conversation and stay this popular years after its debut. And that's that for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay in the loop, and if you want, you can share your thoughts about this video in the comments.